Hello, today I'm joined by Sharron Starr. She's the Director of Market Research for IPC. Nice to see you, Sharron. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Trevor.
Okay.
It's good to be here.
So you oversee a number of market research projects for IPC. Let's very quickly list them. You have, I think the first one is the biennial report.
Oh, well, yes, the PCB technology trends study is one of the biggest studies that we do. It's every 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the 2018 report is being published this week.
Right.
And in fact, Michael Carano of RBP Chemical Technologies, one of my technical advisors on the project, and Denny Fritz is the other advisor. They'll be delivering a buzz session this Wednesday at the show with some of the highlights of the 2018 study.
Okay, great. So I mean, your background is statistics. You're a data analyst essentially.
Yes.
So you've got the background of these Mike Carano and Denny Fritz that are helping you with the technical side of the questionnaires and that sort of thing. So what sort of things are you trying to determine out of this?
Well, the purpose of the technology trend study, it's focused on the PCB industry, but it's actually, it tries to get some insight into the OEM's roadmaps in terms of interconnections so that we can identify what their needs are going to be 5 years out. And so we surveyed both OEMs, and with a separate survey, we did research into the PCB bareboard industry globally, and we looked at the results in terms of what the OEMs need today and what they expect to need in 5 years, or by 2023 now. And on the other hand, what the PCB fabricators are doing today, what they're capable of, and what they expect to, what capabilities they expect to have within that same time frame.
So I would imagine from the OEM's perspective, they're going to be looking to go much further down this smart factory journey and have a lot more data analytics, traceability, this type of thing.
Yes, well, and a lot more use of emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, interconnected use of sensors, and the rest. And
are you finding that the EMS companies are rising up to that challenge? Because some of the feedback I get in the field is they're fairly slow to adopt some of this. The OEMs are wanting it. But the EMS companies and contract manufacturers are a little bit
well, the
slow.
Contract manufacturers are not part of the technology trends study.
Okay.
It's the PCB bareboard fabricators.
Gotcha.
And based on the data that we collected, it appears that they are keeping up with what the OEMs need today.
Okay.
Whether or not they'll keep up in the future remains to be seen, but they seem optimistic that they can. But there are definitely differences between regions. It seems as if there are things happening in Asia that are not. It seems as if Europe and North America are a little bit behind in terms of adopting some new things, such as stretchable circuits.
Right.
Now, our study uses a sample. It's a representative sample of the industry, but it's far from being the whole industry. But what we found is that of our sample, 15% of the OEMs in Asia are using and specifying stretchable circuits now.
Wow.
And over half of them expect to be needing that within the next 5 years.
Wow. That's a huge growth.
In North America and Europe, none of our survey respondents were doing stretchable circuits yet, but many of them expect to within the next 5 years.
Well, you'd kind of expect that because most of the garment industry, for example, is Asia-based.
Right.
So they're the people that are going to be using the stretchable circuits mostly, I would think.
Yeah.
But
in terms of technology, another area where Asia seems to do a lot more is in the use of printed electronics in production.
Yeah.
And again, in all regions, the manufacturers expect this to grow.
Right.
But there's much more of it being done right now in Asia, based on the sample of companies.
Well, smaller form factor, bendable, it's more pliable.
Right.
So you have some other reports that you do as well. You've got a quarterly industry report. Now, this is for the EMS side of the business.
We have several, actually. We have statistical programs for North American PCB manufacturers and North American EMS companies. And those are those involve a monthly survey, so those programs are open to new participants to join right now. But then they close after the January survey is done and the data is collected, so we keep the sample consistent for the year, and that way changes in the sample aren't going to skew the results.
Right.
So actually right now is when new companies can join these programs. It's a benefit of membership to participate. Right. Confidential surveys, and participants contribute their data confidentially, and they get back reports on the results.
So they get the aggregate results back.
Data, yeah. And the EMS one is where some interesting developments are going on, because we're now working with our colleagues at IPC Asia and IPC Europe to expand the EMS statistical program so that
it's more representative,
companies
it's more global
in
nature.
other regions can do this. And this was at the request of several companies in those regions that wanted to take advantage of this program and get the data.
Do you get much data coming out of China?
Well, we haven't done that yet, because we're in the process of recruiting the companies to join the program, which it'll begin with a first quarter survey around April 1st, and but I think that it's a high value offer. It's a benefit of membership that if for companies that are members, for a small investment of time, they get a lot of very valuable and timely data. So I think that I think this is going to take off, and all of the participants in this program will receive the reports from all of the regions.
Okay.
So,
of the people that participate, I mean, how do they break down in terms of being tier 1, tier 2, or smaller?
In our PCB program, we have a pretty good mix of companies, and over half the market participates in North America. The EMS industry, our program tends to draw more small and medium-sized companies.
Okay.
We have some larger ones, but our tier 1 is companies with $100 million in sales annually and up. So it's not the same tier 1 that that industry analysts use.
They've got their own in-house departments to do this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think the benefit is probably greatest for the smaller companies, because they could get data that would otherwise be quite pricey, if they were to commission their own studies.
Absolutely.
So, but we're hoping to increase and we do every year. We increase the number of companies that participate, and now that it's going global, I think we'll have. In fact, I do know of some large companies that are interested in participating. So I think it'll be a success.
Yeah, well, that'll be very useful and very interesting to see.
Yeah.
Are you going to cover? And presumably, you've got some members in Japan and Korea, which are the other two key areas.
Yes, yes, we do.
Contribute.
I don't know how much, how broad a net our IPC Asia group can cast, but we'll have their help to contact the companies and.
Great.
And see what we can do this first time around.
Good. Are there any other reports that you're producing that we should be aware of?
Yes, actually another quarterly survey, and this is not only for members. Anyone in the industry can participate. Every quarter we do a Pulse of the Electronics Industry survey, which basically tries to gauge the health of the industry, both currently and where the people in the industry see it going. And it's very interesting, because the program was started a year and a half ago, and it's been the outlook has been very bullish, during these last 18 months. It's starting to cool a little bit, but it's still solidly positive.
Right.
In terms of the survey asks them about, what direction is our different indicators going in terms of things like sales, orders, production volumes, exports, hiring, capital investment, other things. And so all of these different factors get rated. And we can look at these ratings in terms of how they change over time, but also how they differ between regions and between segments of the industry.
How do they differ between regions? I mean, you say you're seeing it cooling a little bit. Is it cooling more in one region than it is in another?
Yes, actually, our first quarter survey for 2019 is open right now. I just wanted to mention that. It'll be open for another week, at least until February 1st. So companies that still want to participate can do that. But the report that we have that's most current is the one from fourth quarter of 2018. And the one thing that I saw that was really notable there was that the industry's ratings on the current state of the industry, it was just below neutral for Asia.
Right.
That was really surprising because in all regions it's been positive for quarter upon quarter, and all of a sudden Asia's negative.
Well, is this because the tariffs are starting to bite over there?
I think that has a lot to do with it. In Europe and Americas, it's positive, less strongly positive than in the past, but it's still quite positive. So, but looking out 6 months and 12 months, which we also ask about, all of the regions are more positive.
More positive.
So they do see, things at least maintaining their current level of optimism.
Electronics, continues to grow by application all the time.
Yes, it does.
As long as we can just keep the political heat down and the market stable, then I think we'll all be good.
I think that there's a little bit of concern about the direction of the economy. Most economists are predicting a downturn at some point, either this year or later, or in 2020. And that certainly would affect the industry, but how much it would affect it remains to be seen, because the industry has the benefit of innovation to drive growth as well.
That's right. I mean, that's a different curve that's moving a little bit faster than the norm.
It is.
It's an interesting point you make. I mean, Germany announced 2 weeks ago that it literally just avoided by 1 percentage point dropping into recession. So things are not quite as bullish over there as we thought they were.
Yeah.
It's an interesting time. We need to keep an eye on it.
Indeed.
Anyway, Sharron, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Trevor.